Thank you. I just want to give you a little bit of history. The budget process traditionally is basically all year round. It normally starts in October of the year, where I send out budget requests to all the department heads. They put together, through quotes from various vendors and their capital improvement programs in each of their departments, and they put together the budget. Then I meet with them individually. They submit it in November. I meet with them after I put all the budget together. So I've gone through this with each department head already before they come here. And what we do is we try to fine tune it. Our mission is always to keep the tax rate as low as possible. That's our ultimate goal. Because if you listen out there to people from other communities, Cedar Grove is noted for having a low tax rate. That's what seems to attract people to come here, want to live here. It's more affordable and more livable, and we want to keep that piece in place. Also, we look to improve the community as we go along. So those two goals in mind, we're going to present the budget tonight. We're going to start first and foremost with the Township Council's budget, which starts with page 1 appropriately. And if you look at the 250 account, you'll see that that's your relief of municipalities' dues. That's the $50 fee that we pay. Student Government Day and Passaic River Coalition, which we've been a member of Passaic River Coalition for many, many years, and we exchange environmental notes with them. And miscellaneous $100 for any seminars the governing body would like to attend. The next item are website expenses. Basically, that's for our internet provider, which we have a new internet provider. And the second item is our website upgrades, any adjustments. And if you'll see, there's a slash that says /Fair on Memorial. Our website costs this year have gone down drastically. I think they're like $565. I think you'll see a quote in the back of that section. The rest of the money there, we're planning on having a memorial for Bill Fearon down at Community Park. The stone is there. If you go down in the lobby, you'll see the plaque, which is crated. It's not even opened up yet. It's physically here. And these are the ancillary dollars to dress up and fix up around there, whether we're going to put a bench or whatever. We're still going through that. But we have some additional dollars there to incorporate that and have that ceremony. Moving right along to 330, books and publications. Our league subscription for League Magazine and the upgrades of bulletins, $132. Office supplies, $950. Anytime we need nameplates, miscellaneous supplies for the governing body, and a lot of times when we have bereavement, we do send a flower from the governing body out of respect, whether it be a past elected official or someone in town hall. So that's all total. The Township Council's budget has gone up, I believe, about $25. So we try to keep it tight as we possibly could. Moving right along to page 2, which is the Township Manager's budget. Travel is 57 cents an hour. There's an appropriation of $750. Basically, it covers me for half a year, but I don't care. I'm not increasing it. I'm not asking for any more. The $750 is more than enough, and that's it. Conference and dues, again, that's a $55 registration fee for the league, and the Municipal Managers Association dues annually. Not otherwise classified, $299 account. This is for employee training. Any employee wants to come and have some additional training, as long as they give me a description of it and it's related to the job they're performing, we take that additional training out of this line item. 330, books and publications. If you look in the council chambers, the New Jersey NJSA statutes and upgrades, we're trying to convert over to all online. The problem is they don't give you enough subscriptions for all the department heads. But we're working on that. Hopefully we're going to do away with the books altogether and have all those statutes electronically. 450 account, Brother P-Touch. We're going to be buying another one for my office. I have one, Antoinette needs one, so we're going to get another one this year. All total, that budget has gone down from $185,399 to $185,104. So we were able to reduce a few dollars there. Moving right along to page 4, which is the town clerk. Town clerk here. don't think Mrs. Stutz needs any introduction.
No, good evening, Ms. Stutz. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
We'll start with the 210 account, advertising and promotional activities. These are the notices and ordinance upgrades. Every time the council does an ordinance amendment, Kathy has to advertise it and have it published, and then have all the books restocked for all the employees. And then employment ads, anytime we have a job opening, there's $1,000 there to advertise in the newspaper. As you all are aware, advertisement in the newspaper is very expensive, so we try to do it more online where we're going to save some dollars. Kathy's very frugal like that with your money, so, with the taxpayers' money, excuse me. 330 account, bulk mailing. This is for any mailings that we send out to pay for the postage on the bulk mailing machine downstairs. 240 account, ABC licenses, township letterhead and codification services, $5,236. That's the same as last year. Conference and dues, I think things are pretty much self-explanatory. Kathy, you just want to go over some of the organizations that you belong to?
The IIMC is the International Clerks Association. It's an international association. We have the New Jersey League of Municipalities dues. That's included in my budget. The New Jersey's Clerks Association, which is a state professional association. The Essex County has a Clerks Association, which I am a member of. And the only other items in there are the Clerks Conference, the Essex County Clerks Association meetings, and there are line items in there for certification courses or advanced certification courses if they were to be needed.
Moving right along, the 261 account, these are for any overages on the copy machine that we have here in Town Hall. That all comes out of the clerk's office. She handles those invoices. Transcripts and recordings, we have that money there as a catch-all in the event that somebody wants a transcript. They're able to order it. We charge it out of here, and then anything that's reimbursable, we go after. 330 account, books and publications. These are the publications, law publications, New Jersey League Magazine and West Group Title 13 upgrades. It went up slightly from $710 to $880. League Magazines is where it went up a couple dollars. Miscellaneous office supplies, that's basically the supplies for the office, $350. And all total, this budget, again, very small increase from $146,625 to $146,871. Next item on page 6 is the budget for elections. As you all are aware, every other year we have a municipal election. This is the year that we're going to have a municipal election, and you'll see that the budget normally jumps up about $22,000 to $24,000 when that happens. The costs are self-explanatory here. Last year our budget was $7,291 because we only had the general election and primaries. This year we have municipal, so the budget's going to go to $30,610. That's it. Does anybody have any questions of the clerk while she's here? I know she really raised her budget a lot this year, so we have a lot of questions for her. But again, this is everybody trying to keep things tight because we know it's reflective in the tax rate, and people are the ones that have to pay it, and we're cognizant of that fact.
Is the part of the budget that went up because of the election, is that pretty much in line with what we spent in prior years?
Yeah,
Those costs are directly based on the costs that were incurred from the last municipal elections. That's what I project them. This year, I think there was an increase because we reached out to the printer who prepares our sample ballots and all the supplies that we need for the election, and that went up about $1,000, I believe. So that's the reason for an increase there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, thank you. Next item we'll go on, I handle this, the legal services budget on page 15. And you're all aware that we've had COA litigation. Our outside counsel and the special master fees all come out of the COA redevelopment fees that we collect. anything that our town attorney had to handle regarding COLA would come out of this budget. If you look at the 250 account, conference and dues, and New Jersey Institute of Municipal Attorneys dues, $155, that's going to remain the same as last year. Annual retainer, $28,753. Actually, that's gone up by 2% based on the last ordinance. And non-retainer matters, you see we appropriated $115,000, we spent $125,672, and we're asking for an increase of $5,000 there, going up to $120,000. County and state tax appeals, $45,000. That's pretty much in line. We spent about $42,490. All total, this budget's going to go from $188,908 to $193,908. Basically a $5,000 increase. Again, we still have a little bit of cleanup regarding COA. Hopefully, this will be the end of it, and we won't have those charges in the future.
Can you just tell me what the difference is between when you have annual retainer? So is that our council attorney and everything else is?
Annual retainer is for the town attorney to come here on those meetings and the general items that you discuss while you're here. The non-retainer items are items that pop. If the township gets sued, it goes to him, or any outside items.
Okay.
Moving right along, public defender, I mean, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Municipal prosecutor, that's Mr. Candido. He gets $371 per session. I mean, we basically schedule, we appropriate for 58 sessions. A lot of times we have 58, sometimes we have a few extra, which Judge Brindisi takes out of a special fund that he has. But all total, that budget's $21,518 based on the $371 per session. Public defender, Mr. Russo, it's $265 per session, and we're anticipating 22 sessions, $5,830. Those are pretty straightforward. You get the flat rate, and that's it. Any questions on those two items? Seeing none, move on to the highlight of the evening. We have Mr. Holman here from the Finance Department. He doesn't sing or dance, but he's very entertaining.
It's my favorite time of year. Are you kidding?
There you go.
Hey, how are you? Good to see everybody tonight.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming.
Sure. Where would
Okay,
you like to start?
we're going to start on page number 8.
Finance? Finance, page 8. I really held the line on just about every appropriation in the finance budget. Small increases, $18 for mileage, $57 to $75. Printing and binding held the line between ordering checks and our vouchers, kept that at $700. We only spent about $500 last year. The conference and dues kept that at $22.50, no changes there. I spent a little over $2,000 last year. Maintenance on our computer software, that's of about $261. Support for our computer hardware and payroll services, held the line on that, a little over $3,600. And the rest is general office supplies, data processing supplies, and copier supplies. That's in the finance budget. That's just not the finance department. That feeds the entire town hall. So whenever we buy paper, toners, whatever, that gets charged to the finance department budget. So that isn't just finance, that's the entire town hall. So really, overall, finance budget up $279.
Any comments or questions regarding finance department budget?
Questions?
Nice job.
Okay, thank you.
We'll move right along. You want to handle the auditor now on page 10?
Auditor,
Yeah.
which is count 154.
Yes.
Usually our auditor, they do a real good job, Nitzavacci and Company, they're timely. They're usually in here like early May. You guys get the audit report by the end of June, which is statutory deadline. Normally, they've been going with the flat 2% increase, so they're up $565 to $28,808 for the 2019 audit.
Any comments or questions regarding
And we
the
do
audit?
spread the cost of the audit, as you probably see there, to
Right.
each of the utilities, court, library. So the the fee of the court, the fee of the audit is spread amongst all the.
You'll see the charge is 28,808, and then with the chargebacks to the departments, basically the general account only gets charged $11,750, and then the various utilities gets charged back. So that's how that works out. You'll notice that everything we do here is handled by the statutory deadlines. You'll look at other municipalities, some of them are adopting their budget in November and December. Here, we have statutory deadline on when you get the budget, when we introduce the budget, and when we adopt the budget. You'll see online, Bill's a stickler with making sure that the budget is posted online, with the financial
Even the
statements.
financials, I scan the
Everything is
financials,
online.
everything.
If you go online, you'll find the last 2-3 years of our financial statements, our budgets. Anybody in the public wants to go look, it's there for anybody, you know. And we try to stick to what the deadlines are in the statute.
With regard to the auditors, you said it's Nizavatia.
Mhm.
Is that a publicly bid service, or is that is that under the
RFP.
threshold?
RFP,
Okay.
we send them out, and every year, whoever wants to submit, they submit.
Has there been multiple? ones in the
Usually,
past?
auditor's just been one, bond counsel's probably been maybe 3 or 4 bond counsel. We get more for bond counsel than auditors. The auditing fee under 30,000 is, to be honest with you, low. If you checked other municipalities, you're gonna find we got a great price, especially here in Cedar Grove. There's a lot of activity. You know, we have 3 utilities. We have a water, sewer, and a swimming pool utility. There's a lot of testing that has to get done. Other communities don't have 3 utilities, and along with current, plus we have a refuse collection district. That's why if you look at your tax bill, there's a separate tax rate for garbage pickup. So there's a lot of activity here in Cedar Grove, but be honest with you, I've been here, 36 years. I was an auditor for 6 years even before I got here. I give these guys exactly what they're looking for. Everything is right to the penny and improved, so it's to the municipality's benefit, because between you and I, we can get them in and out as quickly as we can. Everything ties in. It's going to keep the fees down.
And that's why the
So
price is so good,
it's a home run.
because they come in here, everything is at their disposal. They know how much time they can
And they know,
anticipate spending.
and they're familiar with the process.
Exactly.
Well, they're RMAs, to audit a municipality, you need people in the auditing firm that have the RMA license. Just can't be any CPA firm that would audit a municipality. They do need the RMA license.
RMA is,
Registered Municipal Accountant.
okay.
So they do a lot of audits in Morris County. I think they do here in Essex. I think they do Nutley, us. I think they do Fairfield. They have a few clients in, but I like them. They're very timely. When they say they're going to come in and start, that's when they're going to come in. And as you probably see, you get the audit report in June sometime, and before the statutory deadline. So they take pride in doing it, in getting it done.
All right, moving right along, tax collector, page 13.
Tax collector. Tax collector, mileage is up $15, up to $50. The bills for the tax bills went up this past year, so I'm looking for an additional $200 for the tax bills. The rest pretty much post-annual year tax statement, that's staying the same. So looking $200 for printing and binding for our tax bills, so that's up $200. Conference and dues, keeping that the same. Again, computer software maintenance up $99 for computer software maintenance. Software support holding the line there, and the overall increase for the tax budget's $314. Most of it's driven by the tax bill printing. I have an outside service do the tax bills. It's a lot more efficient. Years and years ago, we used to do them in-house. It was just a lot of paper that's got printing. It's just more efficient to have them done outside, and they're here like the next morning. They're more apt to get them printed a lot quicker than we can do in-house. So overall, up $314 tax office.
Questions regarding tax collection? Seeing none, move on to water administration.
How about, what's your 930 account?
Let's see, 930 is all the way in the back. Should be
930.
930 is page 133.
To get there. Okay, what are the things?
Almost there.
To the back of the book or what?
Or
Like-
charges.
It's like an Easter egg hunt?
Front of the book to the back of the book. Page 133.
133.
Estimated tax bills, one of the things that we've always done here is in early June, have the governing body pass a resolution allowing me to issue an estimated tax bill for the third quarter. Usually, historically, you can't send out a tax bill until you get a certified tax rate. And usually, the certified tax rate from the County Board of Taxation many times is in early June, to be honest with you. And then we'd have to scurry around to get tax bills out for August 1st. And then if there's a delay, we have to extend the due date. And it really gets to be cumbersome. And you'd be surprised how many taxpayers go away and they're looking for a tax bill. So what we've been doing each year since they passed the law is I'll have the governing body, you pass a resolution, first meeting in June, estimating a tax rate for the year. I'll estimate a rate and allowing me to issue an August tax bill. So
How many years have we been doing that? Quite a number of years.
probably 15 years or so. We don't even wait. Many other communities will
Keeps
just,
the cash flow.
many other communities will wait for the actual certified rate. But it just takes so long because the budget has to get approved and sent back to the county. They've got to certify the tax rate. So I found it much more efficient to have you pass a resolution early June. By mid-June, we have the August bill out in the street. So people can go away on vacation. They don't have to worry about you got your bill in for August 1st. Once we get the certified rate come September, then we'll mail out the fourth quarter bill, which would reconcile all the four bills together. So if there's an increase or decrease in the rate, if I'm off a little bit, it'll be made up in the fourth quarter bill, and we send out the preliminary for 2019, which would be the February and May tax quarter bill. So usually it's about $4,600 to generate the bills, mail them out, and kind of the computer software to do it. So I really believe it's the way to go. I think the last few years, I think the schools got additional aid, and you had to wait to see what the schools were going to do with the additional aid, which kind of held everything up. So it's something that I've always been a proponent of, and I try to tell other towns, you got to do estimated bills. You can't wait on the state and for a certified rate. So it's really worked out well here. Additional $4,600, I think it's well worth it.
Any questions? Want to go to,
You want to do 901?
want to do LoSAP?
You can do LoSAP.
I do 901. Page 140, you're right there, only a few pages away.
Unemployment insurance. What I do have in the budget, similar to last year, was an appropriation of $15,000. Last year, I didn't need it. Basically, what we do is the unemployment insurance account goes into our trust account, and that's to cover any unemployment claims. Most of the claims that we receive are during the summer with the crossing guards.
School crossing guards, that's
our
really the
biggest
only
cost.
unemployment we pay out. Years ago, there was never the claim made for crossing guards, and then the last few years, I think the law changed a little bit, whereas they're eligible now, so that's why there's additional money there.
If you look back a number of years ago, we used to put $25,000 in the budget, but I sliced it down. Last year, we had enough of money in the trust account, really didn't want to tap into it. I figured if I need it, we'll put the appropriation in the 19 budget. And if I need it, as I see that third quarter bills come in, because most of the bills, our biggest bill will be the third quarter. Like this past year, the third quarter bill was about $11,000 for unemployment costs for our crossing guards. We do have other small unemployment claims. Like with unemployment, when somebody leaves Cedar Grove and they go find another job somewhere else and they get laid off, some of those benefits get charged back to us, believe it or not. So unfortunately, that's the way the law is. And even though they leave the family for a better job, if they leave that job, we get asked to pick up some of those costs, which really is unfair.
Family always pays.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Just a question. So perhaps I'm a little confused. So 2018, there was 15,000, and I see nothing was expended.
Right.
Was that because there were no claims?
I just didn't need it. The claims weren't as high as I thought they were gonna be. The summer claims were about 11,000.
He took it out of the trust account, I think he.
Okay.
mentioned that
We have
earlier.
money.
We had a
Okay.
trust account that we'd use that first rather than use this money.
And
That's
some
why,
of-
that's why you see nothing charged
And
against.
some of the money that goes into the trust comes from the employees also, because we have deductions out of our paycheck for unemployment insurance. So the money going into the trust isn't just the municipal appropriation, it's also the deductions out of the employees' checks
Okay.
that go into the trust account,
So the trust is funded by deductions.
from the employees
From payroll.
and by the township
And
appropriation.
understand, township budgeting works on a 2-year cycle. So what happens is, once you get to the second year, the third year budget lapses, and that's where all the reserves are, or extra money. So what happens is, this money is active for 2 years. So this money will lapse, that's not spent next year. So if Bill needs that money, he can always go back to last year's and tap it. So that doesn't go away, and even if we don't use it, it goes into our reserve account. So it's still our money, it's still there.
Got it.
Mr.
Thank you.
Tucci, do we see the trust account in these papers here?
No.
No, no,
So we don't know what the number is of the trust account, like the total and what's?
you don't have that, no.
It's not part of this. It'll be part of the financial
It'll
statements,
be in
so,
in
you know.
the financial.
Once I do the
statement.
financial statements, it'll be up online, you can see the balance is of December 31st in our trust account.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Also, it's shown in the audit, right?
Oh, it'd definitely be in
It's
the
in the audit
report.
book. You can get that bound book every year,
Mhm.
the audit book.
It's a nice blue book.
Yeah.
All right, you want to do LoSAP?
Do
Just-
LoSAP,
just
you're on page
so,
139.
We had a big increase in LoSAP.
Well, we had a change in the law, and the governing body adopted it and went along with the fire department. I believe they get a CPI now on the LoSAP, where years ago it was just a flat rate. So now every year, as the CPI changes, the LoSAP contribution will change. And Bill will explain to you.
Well, I think if you're on the LoSAP page in 18, what we did have was an appropriation of 15,000 for the fire department and 29,000 for the ambulance squad. Okay, and these are individuals that if they meet their 100 points with the fire department and rescue squad, we fund their accounts with VALIC. It's like a 457. They have their own accounts. We fund the accounts. I believe last year, the fire department changed the way their accounts are funded. I believe they get the full $1,100 and change each year, where it used to be graduated, like $287.50 for years 1 to 5, and then $575 for 5 to 10. Now they're getting a full, I think it's $1,120. I don't know why I just can't picture it right now, but it's like about $1,100. So as you see, last year, the bill that I got from them was about $40,000, okay? Where in the past, I was appropriating $15,000. So in essence, what I did, I was short in the 18 budget, so I charged back $15,000 back to 18, and some of the money I charged back to, 17 budget, and some of the money got charged to the 18 budget. So bottom line to this is that I need some more money to fund their LoSAP appropriation for the calendar year 2018.
So what'll happen is next year, this will drop back down.
Hopefully we'll be
But you
back-
just had to appropriate more money to make up the difference you didn't have last year. You have to understand, the LoSAP program, there is criteria set up in the fire department and the ambulance and rescue squad. And the LoSAP award is based on the number of calls that a fireman makes, or an ambulance rescue squad, number of drills. There's criteria. And before, as Bill said, it used to be graduated. If you made X amount, you got X amount of percent. If you made X amount, you got a greater percent. Now, there's a criteria where they changed it with the new CPI rating, whereas you get the whole thing. You get the whole thing or you get nothing. So that's the difference in the program, what it was years past versus now.
And usually with the LoSAP, okay, I don't know what their LoSAP is, let's say, for 2018, until they give me the report like in March of 19. Because then fire department, rescue squad puts all the numbers together and see whether they earned 100 points in 18. So I don't really see that number until the year is over. You know, once they give me their report, and then you'll pass a resolution accepting the report, and Kathy sends it to the rescue squad and the fire department for them to post it for 30 days, just in case anybody wants to appeal. If they don't see their name there, they can bring it up to and appeal the list as far as the people that are listed. So that's the situation with the LoSAP at this point. You know, the bill was a lot more. Their bill was about 40,000, and they usually been appropriated 15,000. To be honest with you, they just changed the funding requirement.
So, Mayor, if I might, so next year you're saying it's going to revert back down
It'll
again?
go back down. It
To
won't be
15
15.
okay.
It'll be some number greater than 15.
It'll
Okay.
probably be around 40,000.
Oh, about 40,000? So that's what we're going to see on an annual basis going forward, based upon the new requirements.
Exactly.
It's jumped up.
This
And
year,
whatever the CPI is.
This year I
It'll
have-
increase by whatever just the CPI is.
because this year I have 56,000 in the budget. That's to make up a little bit of the shortage from the prior year. But they gave me a bill for 40, so that's got to be at least 40 going forward.
And then what about for the ambulance and rescue squad?
They've been, last year, I've been appropriating, in fact, I cut their appropriation down. I've been at 29,000. You know, their bill's been like, last year was 17,000.
Okay.
And so I cut that down to 24 at this point. And I don't think they changed, I don't want to answer for the rescue squad, I don't think they changed their funding requirement.
Right.
As the fire department,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Mr. Tucci, I just have a question on this. So this may be the first one that I've noticed, but I see the department required and then the manager number
Right.
are different. Just so I understand, what is the difference?
Because a lot of times, and this happens traditionally, the department will look at an appropriation and just put a percentage on it. I look at actually what was spent the previous year and what the projection is and what the program is, and then I put the number I'm recommending versus what the department's recommending.
Got it.
Because my perspective sometimes is a little bit different than what the department is.
Understood. Thank you.
Let's go to page 94, water admin,
Yeah, let's go water administration.
page 94.
Okay, you're all set? Just want to make sure you're here. Let's see. Postage holding the same on a little over 3,800 on the postage, printing and binding, same amount, 1,600. We spent a little over $1,000 this past year, a little over 1,600 printing and binding. Again, the computer, software maintenance up $395. That's on computer software maintenance. Held the line on the hardware support and payroll services. Some of our payroll costs are charged to the water utility. Data processing supplies are holding the line at $1,600. And the auditor allocated $120 of their water increase, of their municipal audit increase to the water utility. So overall, water and sewer, water utilities up $515. Questions on water utility? At this-
Now, we'll move on to sewer utility, sewer administration, page 106, which is very similar to the water administration. You see the same type of charges.
Sewer, at this point, give me a minute to get there. Okay,
232.
232, water and sewer to both Verona and Little Falls, holding that at 70,000. Some of...
Just an
Go ahead,
explanation.
Tom.
You may want to know why there's charges to Verona and Little Falls. Well, on the south end of town, there are right now, well, there used to be 4 connections just along Grove Avenue that we couldn't get into our sewer. So what happens is we pay Verona a charge and the sewage goes to their facility. You'll see the 24 units on Grove Avenue, they go to the Verona sewage treatment plant. So we pay a per connection fee to Verona every year for that. On the north end of town, we have a greater portion of our town flows to Little Falls. And what happens is you'll see there's a larger appropriation, because basically almost the whole north end goes to the Little Falls. And what happens is, they give us a generic number in the beginning, and then in the end, they fine tune the number, and we pay the differential.
Okay, thanks, Tom. The postage, holding the line a little over 3,400. Printing and binding, holding the line at 1,600. We spent a little over $1,000. Continuing ed, I didn't spend anything last year there out of the sewer utility, $170 there. Computer maintenance, up $395 for computer maintenance contract. The software, again, computer software, payroll, some of our payroll costs are charged off to the sewer utility, a little over 4,800, held the line there. Data processing, 1,600, and our municipal auditor is up $120 at this point. So overall, up $515.
That's in the other expense line item. You'll see overall, the budget's up about 3,000. But that's attributed to salaries. Any questions regarding water or sewer administration? Chris?
One question on the sewer. The Hilltop, you mentioned that we had the connections. Does the sewage go to Verona? Or does it
All
come
the
to
sewage
Cedar?
from the Hilltop is in the Verona wastewater management plan. We were able to negotiate with Caledonian. They're gonna be paying us for each sewer connection, besides Verona, they're gonna be paying us because there were some issues regarding sewer mains, who was gonna be responsible for the maintenance of them. In the negotiation, we took the one line along Grove Avenue, which used to belong to the county, and they agreed to pay us in exchange for us taking that. So you're gonna see connection fees of $1,200 per unit. It's probably gonna be in the area of probably $550,000 to $600,000 in additional connection fees. And really, the connections, the sewage does flow to Verona though. To answer your question directly.
One more thing. If this year some of them are occupied, then we have to pay Verona for the usage.
For each unit. But what'll happen is, there'll probably be an interlocal agreement between Verona, well, there is one now, but it'll be expanded to include the Hilltop properties. So what'll happen is, either we'll end up doing the billing and then we reimburse Verona. So what happens is they'll get a water or sewer bill from here, or if the arrangement is that Verona wants to bill them separately for sewage, that may be. I would prefer the first case only because they are our residents and it should come through us.
And we have a little bit of a buffer for that.
Yes.
Okay.
There is an administrative fee built in when we do that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, no matter.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holman, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Now we're going to move on to the library budget.
Tax assessor.
Oh, it's I'm sorry, Bill.
That's okay.
Rich.
Okay, forget Rich here.
I forgot Rich.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mr. Hamilton, how you doing?
Hi, Rich, how are you?
All right, whatever. What's on?
Okay. We're going to go to page 11. We're not staying in one section, we're going back to Mondays. Everyone here knows Rich Hamilton, our tax assessor, longtime tax assessor. We share him with the township of West Cole to talk about shared services. He's here 3 days, he's there 2 days. So we're going to start, everybody there, we're going to start with the 220 account travel, $815. Rich gets reimbursed for using his car, 57 cents a mile. Printing and binding, those are for the forms and the assessment notices, $2,350. It's up $50 over last year. The $250 conference and dues, that's the Essex County Assessor's dues, the New Jersey Assessor Association, continuing education courses, which Rich has to keep his license up, and state appraiser's license, $850. Rich reduced it $45, that overall charge there. 290 account, these are the special appraisal appeals and added assessment inspections, $19,000, the same appropriation as last year. Books and publications, $65 for manuals and miscellaneous. Office supplies, $75, and all total, Rich's budget went up $5 this year. So don't beat him up too much for that. Rich, I just want to give them a highlight of your department, because what happens is, tax assessment is probably one of the most vital components, because what happens is, you keep the assessments up, you keep our assessments at a very good rate, and it allows you not to have reassessments more often. And what you'll see in other communities, they have these reassessments, and the people go crazy because there's huge jumps. Rich keeps at it and keeps us pretty close to that 100% mark as much as he could. And what it does is, when the tax board takes a look at us, they say, wow, they're pretty close to their margin, they really don't need it. I mean, eventually, every 10 years, they require you to do it, but the impact to the average taxpayer, because Rich does his job and does it well, is a lot less impactful to the taxpayer than normal. But you could explain it better than I could.
We're actually, this is our 10th year since we did our revaluation in 2010. And there's a ratio, a number. What they're saying is, how do your assessments compare to sale prices on average? So even though we're in our 10th year, that ratio is at 96%, which means on average, the sale price and the assessment. The assessment is 96% of the purchase price. The goal is to be at 100 in year 10. Not only do they look at the sale price relative to the assessment, they look at, are your neighborhoods moving together? In statistics, they call that a deviation, so that they don't want to see, let's say your south end of town and your north end of town are appreciating at different rates. We have one of the lowest rates of deviation. Under 15% is acceptable by the Division of Taxation. We're at about 8%. So those numbers, along with, as Tom said, doing the added assessment inspections, our success rate on defending tax appeals, 98% at the Essex County Tax Board and 97% at the Tax Court of New Jersey. Those are the statistics that the Essex County Board of Taxation looks at when they're determining if a town needs a revaluation. So because all of those numbers are very good, we are not under reval order. And Tom is right, roughly at about 10 years they're looking at you, but we don't have a reval order yet. And even if we were to get an order in the near future, they would give you several years before it must be implemented. And the way I try to keep the ratio as high as I do is by using compliance plans. If I need to adjust a neighborhood, the way I do that is every sale is investigated and it's categorized by that neighborhood. So that if one of our 25 neighborhoods needed to be adjusted, I'll make an application to the tax board. They will approve or disapprove it, but we're looking at the entire town on a 2-year sales study. So you have to say, okay, you told us maybe one neighborhood needs to be changed. Did you look at the whole town? And the answer is yes. We do a 2-year sales study. I have extensive spreadsheets that I keep on all the sales categorized by neighborhood, commercial, residential. And it's really kept us in good shape.
And what happens is, when the neighborhoods get out of balance, that's why when you see other communities, there's shifts in the balance, whether it goes more residential or more industrial. You don't see those shifts because he keeps everything on an even plane.
What we did this year, for the first time, I've been with, in March I will be with Cedar Grove 26 years. This past fall, for the first time, I filed an equalization challenge with the Division of Taxation. And actually the local assessor reports to the Division of Taxation. There was a sale that I deemed to be not an arm's length transaction. The Division of Taxation said, no, we think it's usable, and the township challenged the usability of that sale. Had the sale stayed in the sample, that ratio at 96% would have dropped to 87%. One sale had that much impact based on the calculations prescribed by the Division of Taxation. Larger sale price is given greater weight in their study. We had the sale overturned and taken out of our ratio sample, and the revised ratio went back from 87 back to 96.09%. Last year, our ratio was 96.74%. So you can see it's a steady number.
Rich, just explain what that ratio difference means to the average taxpayer as far, or the township, as far as what we pay in taxes.
We would have paid significantly more county taxes because that ratio is used to calculate our county tax apportionment. If we had a joint school district, it would be, that same formula would be used, but Cedar Grove doesn't have that. But just from county tax apportionment, and we don't have all the budgets yet, and we don't have the equalization table, but I can safely say we would have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars more in county taxes if the ratio was at 87 rather than 96, based on the formula for county tax apportionment. And you can see when you take it out, it brings it right in line with where the ratio has been the last 2 or 3 years.
And this is why it's important that you have a tax assessor and you don't have one for 1 hour a day. You need somebody physically here to keep an eye on the ball, because just that one sale would have thrown us way out of whack and it would have cost our residents a lot of money. So that's the reason why he's here 3 days a week.
And what does it cost us when we have to do a reevaluation? How much did that cost 10 years ago?
It's on a per line item basis. It's based on the composition of your town in terms of the percentage of residential and commercials. Their charge per commercial cost line item is higher than residential.
I don't know why I want to say about 400,000. It was about 400,000 the last time we
It
did
was
it,
400,000.
Okay.
And then you spread the cost over 5 years.
over 5 years. But again, you have that appropriation to come up with 100,000 for 4 or 5 years.
But by doing the compliance plans, we are stretching time
Right.
out by doing those,
Yeah,
because we're trying to keep
saving
everything
money.
in line. If something needs to be addressed, it gets addressed through that compliance plan, which is an application to the Essex County Tax Board. And as I said, this year, for the first time, the ratio challenge, it was, the proof is in the numbers. It would have been a dramatic decrease in our ratio, the implication being higher county tax apportionment for Cedar Grove.
Well, thank you for that. That's, sounds like you saved us a boatload of money this year. Appreciate that.
You know what, the devil is in the details. You know, you have to be extraordinary at the ordinary, is what I like to say. It's just just really investigating each and every sale to make that determination, what should be in the sample of sales and what shouldn't be. That's.
And just as a note, I don't want to blow smoke up these guys, but Bill is an instructor at Rutgers University, teaches what he does every day. And Rich is an instructor at Montclair State and teaches people what he does every day. So these are people that are tops in their field. They're teaching the other assessors and the other CFOs in the state how to be CFO and tax assessor. But
Thank you.
anything else?
That's it.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Once again, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all your hard work all year.
Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
You too, Mr. Holman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right, now we're going to go on to the library. Our library director, Catherine Wolverton, is here. And we're going to go to page 59. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. We have some exciting things to tell you that are going on in the library, and we're going to go through the budget, and then we're going to tell you about them. We're going to let you sit in suspense a little bit. We're going to start with the 23047 telephone account. Basically, this is their internet access, what they pay, $2,800. Heat, power, and light, $19,800. The library is a very active place. It's cool in the summer and hot in the winter in there. So we want to keep our residents comfortable. Water and sewer charge back, $600. Postage, Catherine reduced it from $800 to $600 for this year. Stationery and forms, she reduced it from $1,727 to $1,000. Conference and dues, she reduced that from $2,790 to $2,300. Maintenance and other equipment, this is the heating and cooling contract, heating and cooling repairs, electrical repairs, fire extinguisher service, and SMS security system that went up slightly from $5,800 to $6,500. you'll see miscellaneous repairs. They've been doing a lot of stuff. The library is aging and it needs work, and Catherine's been on top of it, and you're gonna see some of the things that they have planned there. The 270 account, cleaning services, janitorial services, window cleaning, and floor care, $18,000. 290 account, PALS Plus annual fee and computer repair and replace. I think, why don't you explain to them what PALS Plus is, because it's been quite a number of years, we have some new people here, and this way they can understand what exactly that is.
Sure. PALS Plus is the consortia that we're a member of. We share resources amongst several libraries. Most of them are in Passaic County, hence the P in PALS. Essex County never actually formed their own consortia, so we had a choice of going with Bergen or Passaic. It's how we get our ILS, which is the catalog that people look into. It reduces our costs for our platforms, like our ebooks and things like that. Since we can subscribe as a larger group, it costs less money. And they do a lot of our computer work and maintenance with that sort of thing.
Just to give you a little background on that. Moving right along, 330, circulating books and library materials. I think this is pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, it's their novels, their fiction or nonfiction, their media, their adult reference, electronic database, $100,000. It's the same appropriation as last year. Office supplies, child service supplies, programming, technical services. Look, we all know the library is the social hub in Cedar Grove. We have a cross-section of young, middle-aged, and older people there. Anyone who doesn't have a computer, they're in the library, and somebody's there to help them. I mean, younger people, reading programs. The place is one of the busiest places in town. It's either a bar is a social place or the town library is a social place. And I hate to put them in the same context, but a lot of people just use it to meet there. Some of our senior citizens, it's just a day out, and it's just a great place. They do a great job. Everybody feels welcome there. I mean, you see there on reading days, all the young kids and their young parents are in there, and everybody leaving there with a smile. And that's what we want to see. We want to see people use our programs, use our facilities. That's what we're here for. Moving right along, janitorial supplies, light bulbs and cleaning supplies, $1,000. Not otherwise classified, group medical, short and long-term disability, dental. That's all the statutory requirements. That's going up about $8,000. Now we get down to the 470 account. You'll see furniture. And this is what I wanted to explain to you. Last year it was $7,017. This year the request is $41,348. You say, wow, they're going to buy that much furniture in there? Well, the library has plans to do some interior renovation. You'll see the inside of the library. It's old. It needs updating. The library board and the library director have come up with a plan. They're going to put some new interior petitions. They're going to redo the inside of the library and make it more state-of-the-art and make the rooms more usable to the programs that they're administering right now. And what happens is when they do these modifications, they're going to need new furniture to put in with that. And that's what this appropriation is for. It's to put new furniture in so that they can administer their programs in the most cost-effective and efficient ways that the public is going to enjoy. Do you want to add anything to that?
That pretty much sums it up, and we're very excited about it. The interior renovations will allow us to have 2 meeting rooms, which would be great. It would, we could do simultaneous programming and reduce the amount of noise bleed that goes in the regular facility. It would allow us to not have to worry as much, because right now when you have programming in the library, everything is heard. So a lot of times it's difficult to balance the needs of adults with the caution you have to take, knowing that anything you do is going to be heard by any youth that's in the building. So that would definitely help. On the flip side, it also helps kind of keep the children's programs maintained. So if somebody's doing work or there's somebody having a meeting or things like that, they don't have to listen to, like, we sing over and over and over again. So that would be really great. It'll give us a chance to kind of update the furniture and make it more comfortable. Anybody who's tried to spend a prolonged period of time in the building knows the chairs are really hard and really heavy, and kind of difficult to move around for the staff. So that will also be kind of a safety thing for the staff to make things more lighter and better easier to store. So I guess that's.
And the most exciting part about it is, which this library board and this director is not telling you, is they have money in their account, approximately $100,000 in trust. And that's where they have planned out where the expenditure to do these improvements are gonna come from. So basically, there's not gonna be another appropriation in the budget. They have planned it out real well. The only thing we're gonna be doing is supplying some money for furniture. But, they've thought ahead and they've thought it out pretty well. I'm assuming it's not gonna get done in 2019,
No,
somewhere
no,
into
in
2020.
2020.
But the plan is in place, they're moving forward, they're taking all the right steps, and the board and the director are to be commended as far as I'm concerned, because, this is who we are. We are Cedar Grove, and we're gonna do the best for our residents, and they are.
Yeah, we are trying to make the minimal impact financially. So that there's a matching grant coming out and kind of doing the best with what we have available at the time.
That's great, and thank you, because I was going to ask that question. I see the money for the furniture, where's the money for the renovation? So, thank you for all the hard work and thinking ahead and putting that plan into place. Counselor, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to concur with that, say thank you. It is probably the hub of our community, and this renovation you're talking about is long overdue, and I know as a council and with the board and with you, we've talked over a number of years about doing a number of different plans, and what you've come up with is a very fiscally responsible plan, but something that's also desperately needed in there. There's all different types of programs in there, adults and kids. I'm in there a lot with my family, and it's great you have all those programs, but it is difficult, and I know we've talked about it with the blending. So I supported 110%, and I'm excited that you're going forward with it. Computers, is the plan that you have that you're looking at, are you going to add some more computers as part of it?
That is part of the plan, yeah.
It is?
To kind of
Okay.
expand that and,
I see it, because when I'm in there, you have
Yeah.
6, I think, in there now, and they're always being utilized. Again, as Mr. Tucci said, people are in there, they're using it, they're using our services, which is great. So, okay, that's exciting.
I want to thank our board members also.
Yeah,
Job well done.
yeah. Mayor, if I may too, just as a liaison, I get to have a privilege of spending a lot of time with these people, and they are so incredibly hardworking and put their heart and soul. I can tell you that this plan has not come easy. It's been hours and hours and hours of discussion and listening to various proposals, and really, I mean, I know Linda, I guess, couldn't be here, but the hours that these folks put into the library is to be commended, and it's more of like a community center. They have so many children's programs, so many there's just so much that, it's a hub. And I can say also, for the one time we had a board meeting, remember, and there was like a juggler, and we're sitting, I'm like, we really need to, and it's one of my most favorite pieces of property in Cedar Grove. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's a gem, and you guys do a fabulous job, so thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions of Catherine? No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Health Department.
Where did Ellie go?
Uh,
Is she back there on the floor?
We are going to start on page 45.
Maybe.
We have Sue Portaway and Dee Rio here. Let me know when you're there, and we'll get started. All right, we'll start at the 220 account travel. You'll see there's $100 there appropriated, same as last year. Printing and binding, the forms, $1,000. See, we spent a little bit more. We spent almost $1,500, but $1,000 is what the request is. Conference and dues, it's going to go up slightly from $500 to $530. You'll see the State Registrar Association fees have gone up just a little bit. Fees for professional specialized services. I mean, deer carcass removal is handled through the health department. Employee physicals come through the health department. Public health nurses that are supplied. You'll see Montclair contract. I don't know if all of you are aware that we contract services through the Montclair Health Department. We're one of a number of towns. Sue administers on behalf of Montclair. The programs that we have, Essex Regional Health Commission, the $4,050 charge, and all rodent control services, anybody that complains in our brooks and streams about rodent control come through the health department. So all total, that's going to go up slightly from $73,532 to $75,404. The Montclair contract is a contract, I believe it's a 4-year contract that we have with the town of Montclair, lays out what the fees are.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask a question. Mr. Tucci, this comes up all the time, and it seems like every year we revisit it, or just maybe just for the public's knowledge and some of the council members, the deer carcass removal.
Yes.
People look at us, and I actually just had a conversation last week with a resident that was, upset that they had a deer carcass on their street for a long period of time. They called down here, and they can't appreciate the fact that we can't touch it. So maybe you can explain for the council, for the
What
public, how
happens
that
is
works.
this, deer carcass removal is handled by an outside company. Number one, the reason why municipal employees and county and state employees, because of bloodborne pathogens. Any time that you touch anything that has blood, open blood, it has to be handled in a certain fashion. So those employees have to be vaccinated, they have to be certain. So what happens is the county contracts out with a company, the state of New Jersey contracts out with a company, and Cedar Grove contracts out with a company. Ironically, it's all the same company. There's no different company. Who we use and who they use is the same. The only difference is if the deer carcass is on a county road, the county's responsible. They call it in. If it's on our road, we're responsible. And the other thing is, if it lands on your private property, it's your responsibility because we can't come on your property. If you drag it out to the municipal roadway, we can handle it at that point. But municipal employees are not permitted to go on public property. And that's where it seems to be problematic. The other thing is, the company only comes out to certain areas, certain times. And Dee, you can add to this about what the response time is, because you handle it more on a regular basis.
Well, our deer carcass removal service, they actually come out quite well if it's on a town street. They are bonded to go on private property. The county and the state are the ones that take their time, and they don't often come out. And those are the ones that are on Ridge Road, or they're on Pompton Avenue, where they will sit out there for a long time because they have the whole state or the whole county to go through. And that's when we have an issue, is when they take longer time coming out. If it's on our roads, they usually come out within a day or two.
That's good, okay. Thank you.
Just two quick. You said that on township roads, you'll remove them from private property too?
That's it was, they are now, they are bonded.
They're bonded to do
come
that.
on it.
But, again, the liability portion, the rules are, it has to be in the right-of-way or on the town roadway. We do not go on private property, because then we have liability issues. And again, our DPW guys and our in-house guys will not do it because of the bloodborne pathogen issue. These guys have the proper
Right,
vaccination.
right. The deer carcass removal.
They can, but the township's not going to assume the liability for them to go on private property. That's the issue.
No, they have their own insurance.
If a
They-
resident-
they will-
I know,
They
but
will go on.
But what happens is, with insurance, through our policy, there's subrogation. So if they go on and get hurt, they have insurance, but they're going to sub-roll back to us. At the end of the day, the township is going to pay. That's the reason why we don't go on private property. And again, the deer are on terrain that sometimes is not favorable, whether it's like Old Quarry, which is very rocky, and it gets wet, gets slippery, it becomes dangerous. So our policy is we don't go on private property.
If the resident drags the deer to the curb, would that be all right?
That's fine.
Okay, because I think that's where the miscommunication
As long as they get
is.
it out to the right-of-way area, we're more than happy to pick it up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thanks, Mr. Tucci.
Moving right along, bloodborne pathogens, again, that is there for testing hepatitis B. Mainly, the guys that will handle that will be the guys that work in our sewer department, because they deal with sewage. They're the ones that come in contact most often. Miscellaneous supplies, $300. And overall, this budget's going up about $2,000 from $123,922 to $125,824. Anybody have any questions regarding the health department budget? moving right along, we're going to move on to page 47, which is animal control. And the first item here is dog, cat, and canvas. This one that has been bothering us for years. Normally, years ago, there used to be a group in town called Oksana. It's American karate students. Pete Cardiello, who used to be our SOAR foreman, used to run this. He used to have a group of young people, young karate students. And what happened, they used to go out and do the cat and dog canvas for us. And we used to give them the $1,500 stipend. That group has dissolved, and we've been trying to get groups like the Scouts or high school students to come in, and we would donate the $1,500 to have them do the dog and cat canvas. What that is you got to go house to house and see who has a dog or cat and see if they're licensed or not. If not, you take the information down, bring it back to D. This way we can get everybody licensed the appropriate way. Unfortunately, we have reached out to, how many groups, D? Like, just about all of the groups in town. We were even trying the nonprofit groups in town.
Colleges.
Montclair State College, you know. We just can't seem to find, but we're still looking. And eventually, we will find somebody who's going to do it. But as far as dog and cat licensing, we're probably not up to where, anywhere near where we should be, of people registering their animals. So that's what that line item is. 240 account, dog, cats, forms, and cards. It's pretty much self-explanatory, $1,500. 290 account, fees for professional specialized services, veterinary services, and Wayne Animal Control. That's the contract we have with the Township of Wayne to do our animal control. The veterinary services, you want to talk a little bit about the rabies clinic?
3 times a year, we have in February, May, and September, we have a free rabies clinic here. The rabies inoculations comes from the state, but our vet is the one that inoculates the dogs, and they have a tech with them. And it's really important, especially the February clinic, because people can't license their dogs without the rabies, and this is about the time that some of them run out. So they come and they use the clinic, they get their dogs vaccinated, and then they can be licensed. So we have over 75 to 100 dogs and cats at this time of the year, and maybe 35 to 20 on the other days, on the other clinics.
Just to give you a little background on that. Anybody have any questions regarding that?
One on the Wayne Animal Control. How many times roughly would you say that they come to the town monthly pertaining to dogs and cats? I guess that's all they do, right? Dogs and cats?
No, they do, if there's a squirrel, raccoons, if there's ill animals, they'll come. If there is, or if bats in someone's attic, or a feral cat, they will come to, if it's in the home or if it's in the property.
There are certain conditions, though,
Yeah.
under which
Yeah.
they'll handle.
If a squirrel's in someone's home, you come out?
If the squirrel is in the living area of the home, they will come and try and trap it. If the squirrel is in the attic or the basement, they won't.
As a person that had raccoons in their house, I can tell you, I paid. So, again, depends on the situation, whether they'll handle it or they won't handle it. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to senior citizen transportation. First item I'd like to point out is, you'll see that senior citizen transportation, the salary went down from $28,874 to $10,200. What happened here was, we were able to consolidate that position. What happens is, one of our maintenance guys that's here, we were able to consolidate that position, and we sent him to get his bus driver's license, and now he's a bus CDL driver, and we saved about $19,000 with the consolidation. So, anytime we can do that, we're going to try to do that, because it saves the town money in the long run. And United Way Dial-A-Ride, that's a joint program that we have with the Township of Verona. Our contribution is $5,000. People can call up, what do they charge them?
$6.
$6. You can call up United Way Dial-A-Ride for $6, and they'll come and pick you up and take you where you need to go. It's a good program. $3.99, not otherwise classified. That's just the social security, pension, and workman's comp for the bus driver. So all total, this budget went from 53,290 to 33,823. Anybody have any questions regarding senior transportation? Sue Ordway works for the Township of Montclair. She basically handles our interaction. We just explained the programs that we get through the Township of Montclair contract.
So, a local health department is required to do certain things under the New Jersey State Department of Health Practice Standards. That includes vital statistics, which Dee does out of Cedar Grove. We provide nursing, registered environmental health specialists, communicable disease, adult health, health education. So we're in the town, we have registered environmental health specialists who inspect every single food establishment, so restaurants, the schools, liquor stores, little, convenience stores. They investigate environmental complaints such as poison ivy, rodent complaints, ragweed, mosquito breeding because somebody's not taking care of their pool, things like that. The nurses go online every day to look at communicable disease reports. So if there's a physician that saw a patient in Cedar Grove that has a communicable disease, a lot of them are reportable. And it shows up on this online system that we go onto, and then the nurses have to track any contacts or the source of the illness. If they work in a food establishment, then you have to investigate that further to see if there was other contacts that they might have had. We've got some Legionella cases in town the past couple of years that are investigated in joint with the State Health Department. I was telling Tom last week, have our first, that I ever remember, lead case in town, a child that has been identified with an elevated blood lead. So at that point, both the nurses and the inspectors would go into the home and do a surface-by-surface investigation with the lead analyzer that we have, that we purchased with the state grant.
Along that line, I don't mean to interrupt you, but along that line, because we had this issue with lead, I had our water department go back and check all our records to see if we have any lead services in town. And I'm happy to report at this point, our records indicate there are no lead services in Cedar Grove. That's not to say that there aren't any, but we don't have any on record. I think our town is new enough, and we have a handle on where the older buildings are, that we do not have lead services, any of record as of this date. Sorry to interrupt you.
So that's an advantage with Cedar Grove with the homes too, because they're not, you don't have a lot of older homes like Montclair does. The lead in paint was taken out in 1972. So at that point, you weren't allowed to use any leaded paint, interior or exterior of a home. So that's not so much an issue here, so it's a little surprised to have a child with an elevated level. But in this particular case, there's an exterior porch, and there was a fireplace in the porch, and that's where they found the leaded paint. So the inspectors would go in, do an investigation in the home, and then order an abatement. So the parents would have to hire a contractor to come in and take the lead paint out or fix it, depending on it depends on the status of the paint. If it's chipping and peeling and in bad shape, it's done a certain way. If it's in good shape, it doesn't necessarily have to be removed. We do the massage establishments in Cedar Grove. Tom wanted a ordinance that's individual to Cedar Grove so that we go in annually to inspect those and make sure that they're in compliance with state regulations. Health education, right now we're trying to get some more programs directly in Cedar Grove. There were a lot of programs that we would invite Cedar Grove residents to come to Montclair for, but we don't get a big turnout that way. So we're trying to offer more and more programs in this town and have them come here. We do flu clinics every year here and in the senior building.
And also, we participate with the colleges and some other people that come in and do independent studies. I know somebody's in right now doing a study on tobacco usage in town that we support. So there are a lot of things go on through the Montclair Health Department. I mean, Sue and the Montclair Health Department put us in touch with these people, and we give them the okay just to monitor and see what's going on as far as tobacco usage in Cedar
Last year,
Grove?
we had an intern come in and she went to all the places that had tobacco licenses to see if they were selling e-cigarettes, because that was it's a big thing with children now, underage kids getting a hold of these and thinking they're safe, and they're not. They have a lot of the same chemicals that tobacco does. They have nicotine, they have additives. So she did a study, and as a result of that, the township decided to pass ordinances that required licensing of these establishments and not to sell to children under 26 years old.
See, that's how some of these things get generated by these independent studies. Councilwoman Peterson, I know you're intimately involved with a lot of these type of issues.
Yep.
So just want to just fill in the gaps. Sue's here to just explain to you how some of these things do come about. You understand because
Yes.
you're involved with it.
Yeah.
We inspect the public bathing places twice a year, once before they open, and then during the year. We monitor all their weekly lab results. They're required to do pH and bacteriological testing every week. So we're doing a lot. We do a lot behind the scenes.
And also that monthly, you had sent me, it's almost every month, the health education series that you have going on. I think it was diabetes, and there was 2-part diabetes, cooking, and is that diabetes or just the cooking for, there's so many programs.
And there's a lot of programs because Cedar Grove is part of Montclair, Mountainside Hospital's catchment area. There's a lot of programs through Mountainside Hospital that Cedar Grove residents can take advantage of. And we recently, last year, right?
We did the Facebook.
Opened up a Facebook page. So I try and share all that information on, everybody should join that Facebook page.
Yeah.
All the programs and some health news, some statewide health news, things that are going on, so people are more aware.
So we have a lot of good health and wellness programs.
There's so much available. I feel, if we could try to get I know we did through the Facebook page, if we get the word out, people, they ask me questions all the time, like, no, it's there, it's available, it's, they have to find it. So, but you guys do a great job and you do a lot for the town.
It's hard in Montclair too. I mean, there's so much that's being done and people really don't realize it. They don't know.
Yeah.
So it's hard getting the word out.
Yeah.
Along that line, we have an employee assistance program through our joint insurance fund. It's probably one of the most underutilized programs there are. This is free counseling of any type for employee, anybody that wants it. It's totally anonymous. You don't have to tell your employer. We have in the coffee room, you just take a little tab, you call the phone number, and you get X amount of hours for free. But getting people to, and we advertise it. I have these placards all over the buildings. But again, to your point, getting people to buy in and utilize these assistance programs is hard.
Yeah, yeah. And they're great programs right there. So.
Anybody have any other questions of these ladies?
No, thank you for both coming. We appreciate it. Thank you for all your hard work.
All right, we're going to move on to public buildings and grounds on page 22. We have construction official John D'Ascenzio here. This particular budget, John and I kind of do jointly. You'll see.
What page, son?
Page 22. You looked at the senior transportation budget. You saw 10,200. I saw. If you look, the person who fills the other half of that position, actually the joint position is under 110, and that's the remainder of his salary. So it's 35.7 here and 10.2 that we merged those two. So we save health benefits for one person, Social Security all the way through, plus $19,000 in salary. It was really a home run to consolidate, and we're looking to do that more and more as long as we don't lose any services to the community. We don't want to downgrade the services just to save money. If we can maintain the same service and save money, we're going to do it. All right, moving right along, we're going to start with the 220 account, mileage 57 cents. There's nothing in this budget for that. Municipal postage, all the postage that goes out, all the tax bills, everything comes out of this postage line item, $17,000 there. Maintenance and other equipment, fire extinguisher maintenance, smoke detector system, our new generator. Actually, we were going to reduce that down to nothing because for this year, because it's brand new, I believe it was 1 year. So we're gonna reduce that line item down to 0 because it's a 1-year warranty. Next year, that number will come back again. So that's gonna save us $750. HVAC contract, we were signing an HVAC contract every year for $3,500. And what we were finding out was that we were spending our money for nothing. We'd have a guy come in here, look, and we'd have nothing. So the past couple of years, what we've been doing, we've been appropriating the money and just letting it sit in the account. If it breaks, we'll pay it out of the $3,500. And so far, we are to the good at least 5 years now that we haven't spent one nickel. So we're talking about $15,000, $16,000 that we saved. And we're going to keep going this way because a lot of these maintenance contracts, as you're all aware, are almost a gimmick to some extent because you're paying, you're not getting anything in return. So that's the way we're going to handle that. Elevator maintenance, that's a must. You'll see that's $2,285. And miscellaneous office machine and equipment. This I like to explain every year why it's 0. All the office equipment, whether it be computers, everything in here, we don't take maintenance contracts. We have this $1,700 here. If anything breaks, it comes out of there. But when we go back and we look at all the maintenance contracts, if we took them, how much we saved, it's probably about $20,000. So it may be a wrong way to handle it, but so far, I don't know if we're good or lucky, but maybe a little of both. But we've been saving the township quite a bit of money, and if something breaks, we'll charge out of here, we'll pay as we go. 260 account municipal properties, this is all for the maintenance of town hall. Anything breaks, a window breaks, the pipe breaks, sewer backup, we take it out of this account. Cleaning supplies, window cleaning, floor waxing, $850. Rentals, mail machine downstairs, we don't own it, we rent it. Actually, we own the machine, but the head where the mail goes through, you only rent, you never own that. So that's what that is, that $1,500 there. Janitorial supplies, paper towels, toilet paper, soap for town hall. Garden and park supplies, our Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and Christmas wreaths, $1,200. All total, this budget's going up probably about $250 from $110,172 to $110,417. Moving right along, we'll move to the planning board on page 24. These are pretty small budgets. You'll see $250 account, New Jersey Federation of Planners officials dues, $180. Planning courses, which are there in the event that any member wants to take them. And that budget is $560 for that line item. Professionalized specialized services, that's the money to pay the attorney to attend those meetings. There are 24 scheduled meetings at $215 a meeting. That's what the attorney gets. Why we only spend $2,035? Because we don't have 24 meetings. A lot of times the meetings are canceled, and we haven't had to spend that money. That money just lapses and goes back into the budget. Office supplies, $350 account. Local government desk books, land use books, and recording tapes, $1,470. That budget is exactly the same as last year, $35,334. And if you look at the zoning board, I'm not going to go through line item by line item because it's almost a duplicate of the planning board. Their budget is the same as last year. Actually, yeah, $32,280. Almost identical. Moving on to the inspection of buildings, cell phone. That comes as it's in the general. That's in the 820 account. All town cell phones are in the utilities account. Heat, power, and light. Why you say, why is there a charge for heat, power, and light in the building department when they're in this building? Because in certain departments, we're able to charge back to that department. So everything in the building department gets analyzed at the end of the year. The building departments are not supposed to be a profit-making organization. They're not supposed to lose money, so we have to do an analysis of what the salaries are, what the office space is, what the lighting is in there, and come up with a number. And then we're supposed to adjust our fees so that we don't collect more than what it's costing us to operate the department. And that analysis is done every year. So that's why you'll see power and light. That's what we estimate to be the charge for that office space for them. 240 account, printing and binding, state permit forms, self-explanatory. even though now that number keeps going down because now, as the construction official advised me, people are allowed to download, make photocopies of the form, even though it creates a problem because the forms are in triplicate, so when they come in, they got to photocopy a few times and put it in a few different places. It's a little more work, but sometimes it saves us money and it costs us money. 250 account conference and dues, that's the league fees to go to Atlantic City for registration, and New Jersey Building Officials Association, $325, up $20 from last year. Boca book upgrades, every other year the Boca books get upgraded in International Plumbing Code, so on and so forth. All the code books that the inspectors, plumbing, electrical, and building inspectors use. Office supplies and equipment, $500. The chargeback for pension, group benefits, Social Security, workman's comp and dental, self-explanatory. All total, this budget's going up about $4,000, from $237,945 to $241,181. Plumbing inspection, pretty self-explanatory. Salary, with mileage for our inspectors because they use their own cars, and a chargeback for Social Security, workman's comp, and long and short-term disability. The budget's going from $20,368 to $23,494. Now, just give you a little history and background. Cavnini's got the project going up there. Our plumbing and electrical inspector work 2 half-days a week. So what's happening, in order to accommodate them, our plumbing and electrical inspector are working more hours so that they can get their inspections on a more expedient fashion. So what's happening is construction official has required Cavninian to set up an escrow account, and all the additional hours get charged against the escrow account, not against what the township is paying. We're paying what we normally pay, and all the extra work Cavninian is paying directly for those additional hours from our inspectors. It's a very prudent way to handle it. They want the additional service beyond what we normally supply, and they've agreed to pay for it. It seems to be working out, Mr. DeSantis?
Yes, yes.
And electrical inspector is very similar to the plumbing inspector. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. D'Ascenzio? Just, John, you want to explain to them a little bit about the Cavninian project, how it will go along with it?
460 units, which I'm sure you all know. They're moving at a very high pace. They're trying to get as many footings in as possible so they can frame during the winter. We actually did the first framing inspection last week. They have not only their own inspectors going in, but they've also hired a consultant to go in before we even get there. So a lot of things that we would normally point out are already caught by their people. And then what I do is I go over with their personnel as to what they found. We had a couple of questions for them, which we leave them the information. By the end of the day, they have the answers for us. So they're very timely in their response. We try to be timely in our response to them. So everything seems to be going smoothly right now. So hopefully we'll continue that way.
For my next question, thanks, John. One question I have for you. One of the issues that we dealt with during those hearings, you have residents coming from other developments complaining about the construction of those other projects. You're not seeing any issues like that, and you're saying that they may even have corrected that by hiring their own people to make sure that those issues don't reoccur in this development like they had maybe in some other developments.
I checked with other towns that have had these projects to see what their problems were.
Right.
And they seem to be, at this point, being addressed.
Okay.
The project manager that they had there that we came in, that we developed a good rapport with, turns out that he's moving on to a different company. So we thought we'd have to break somebody else in. Ironically, the gentleman that they brought in, I worked with him on a project in North Caldwell. He's very savvy to how things should be done. I don't anticipate any problems.
Right. And I know, Mr. Tucci, that's exactly what you told those residents every time they came up here.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to do to address that issues.
We try to do our homework so that we avoid the problems.
Right.
Just a little background. John is the fire chief in North Caldwell.
Yeah.
He's also the construction official here. He's the building inspector here, and he's the fire subcode here. So John wears quite a few hats and does a lot of the code enforcement work also. Also, he does a lot of overseeing this building. you'll see there's smoke detectors. This building was just retrofitted with smoke detectors. It's got a big main board downstairs. So if anything happens in this building, they can pinpoint exactly which room it is. I mean, the other one was like 40 years old.
Yeah, it was
The old system.
ironic because your smoke detectors have to be less than 10 years old. So we'd have people come in and they'd say to us, well, what kind of smoke detectors aren't we supposed to have? And I'd point to the ones we have. And they would say, well, how come, is it do as we say, not as we do? And I said, no, we're in the process of getting funding to change the smoke detectors. And we were able to strike a good deal where now a lot of rooms that weren't covered are covered. So if something happens, the police officer on the desk is gonna know almost instantaneously when there's a problem.
Well, when John brought this to my attention, he gave me a lesson in Fire 101 and explained to me why we had to have this. And he couldn't tell anybody that these are the ones we shouldn't have anymore.
Right.
The other thing is that John brought to our attention is in our basement area, the building is sprinkled for the most part, but downstairs was not.
Well, yeah, what happened is the state has a thing called the retrofit code, where they take buildings that predate Uniform Construction Code, which came into effect in '77. This building, this addition here was built in '75. And any windowless areas between 0 and 3,000 required to have a supervised fire alarm. Well, what turns out is we have from 3,000 to 10,000, which requires a sprinkler system. So for years, the state fire inspector would come through and, and he'd do his own measurement, come up with, it's probably about 3,000. So this, back in the fall, the fire inspector said to me, what's the square footage of the basement? I said, well, I never measured it. I said, the tax assessor should have it. So Rich gives him 5,000 square feet. He looks at me and he says, oh, that needs a supervised fire alarm. He said, no, it also needs a sprinkler system. Oh, yeah, you're right. How did we miss this? Well, nobody ever asked the question.
Right.
So now we've gotten prices on putting a sprinkler system in there.
It'll be in the capital budget for this year.
So basically, if there is a fire down there, the sprinkler system should hold it with one head.
Right.
And it would prevent firefighters having to go down into a dangerous environment. So.
Good.
I'm going to keep the building safe.
Good.
Anybody have any other questions of Mr. D'Ascenzio?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Ascenzio. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
All right, we're down to the last one. Go to page 35, Police Department. I think we have Lieutenant O'Toole here.
Hey, Lieutenant, how you doing?
Good evening.
Chief apologizes, he's away this week. He'll have to be here himself.
Likely excuse his budget time.
He planned it that way.
I tease him all the time. Just so you notice, in the police salary line item, which is very, very, very unusual for a police department, you'll see the grand total for salary and wages is reduced from $4,235,177 to $4,222,322. And you might ask yourself, how is that possible? Salaries go up every year. Well, we've had a number of retirements, 3 to be exact. And what happens is when people retire, you have a high salary, and then when you bring in a replacement in, and it's the breakage between the two why you're seeing the reduction. And also, it's in the health benefit area, you'll see there's some reduction also, only because some of the older folks, and I don't want to use the word older folks, I don't want to insult anybody, but you might have a family with 3 kids and a family plan is approximately $30,000, whereas a new hire may be a single person and maybe $8,500. So there's a breakage there in healthcare coverage. So you'll see there's differential here. But we're going to start with the 220 account mileage. $100 was appropriated last year, and we're going to hold the line the same there. 240 account printing and binding, stationery and report forms, $1,000. Conference and dues. Police department, one of the most vital aspects of police is training. Whenever we get into trouble and we have lawsuits, the first thing the opposing attorney points out is, do they have the appropriate training? And I don't have to explain to Councilwoman Peterson. She has that training in her house.
We're almost done.
Right?
2 months.
So our training budget is going from $9,400 to $11,966. You'll see the addition of the Essex County ALRP program. That's new this year. 261, maintenance and other equipment. Pretty self-explanatory. Police department has copier maintenance, IT support for the MDTs. We're going to body cameras now, MDT software, voice recording, InfoCop e-systems, L3 mobile video, visual statement maintenance, civil solutions, police scheduling software, $74,400. These are all the programs that make the police department work and work in a modern fashion. 290 account, new officer physicals, annual physicals, which are part of the contract. We're required to offer physicals to anyone in the department that wants them, and a National Night Out, which is probably one of the best programs and most participated in the community, and it's appreciated by the community, I think. $15,750. Clothing and new uniforms, these are for new officers, and regular officer stipends going from $33,550 to $34,950. Prisoner food, when we have prisoners, $300 in that account. Books and publications, $1,500. Office supplies, $1,000. Tire replacement, police vehicles are going 24/7, and the tires get replaced very frequently, $5,500. Batteries for the flashlights, $300. Fire and other safety equipment, ammunition, fuses, first aid supplies, narcotics test kits, fingerprint and photo supplies, $1,000. Miscellaneous supplies, $500. Vehicle replacement, we normally replace 3 vehicles every year. As a matter of fact, I think we just received our 2 new vehicles. $74,500 is the appropriation for that. Strobes and flashers, the new vehicles have to be equipped with the overhead lighting, $4,000. All total, this budget's going from $4,479,277 to $4,461,888. Highly unusual that a police department budget goes down. Normally, public safety is the biggest cost in any municipality. Our municipality is no different. The only difference in our municipality is I think we have the finest officers around. And I'm biased, so. But anybody have any questions of Lieutenant O'Toole? Just before she answers that, I just want to reiterate, as we talked about last year, we need a new police communication system. We talked about the cost is going to be $1.4 million. Hopefully, it's going to be part of the list of items that I give you that you asked me to prepare for you, which hopefully I'm going to have within the next couple of meetings so that we can talk intelligently. But that's one of the priority items that we need to have, because we have to make sure that our police officers, when they go into dead spaces and basements or isolated areas, that their communication, because that's their vital link. When they can't communicate, they're in danger. And we have to make sure that these men and women go home to their families every night like we do. So with that, anybody have any questions?
Mayor, so I have a number of questions. I concur with you, Mr. Tucci. I agree. I think I'm biased too. We have the finest in around. I just want to thank you, Lieutenant O'Toole, and all the officers. You guys do a great job year after year, and it's a great opportunity for us to let you guys know that. I know all of us have probably had an experience with the police department. I know Deputy Mayor, this past year, he talked about the experience that he had, and I've had him come to our house over the years, and the way the police department responds in our community, I mean, it's amazing. You're there, and I mean, it's no matter if it's if it's a stray cat or if it's a serious issue, you get the same level of care and responsiveness. And as a a parent, it makes you feel very comfortable. So I just want to say thank you for the great job you guys do year after year.
Well, and we, of course, appreciate the support we get from the council and from Mr. Tucci, and that's, everyone knows that, so that feels good to us too.
Good, good.
Thank you, Lieutenant. We appreciate you being here.
Along that
And all
line,
your hard
on
work.
February the 4th, we're going to be bringing our 2 newest promotions to the council for the mayor to do the ceremonial swearing in. Lieutenant Conlon, who was promoted from sergeant to lieutenant, and Sergeant Rusomano,
Yes.
I almost forgot his name, which happens when you get old, he's going from police officer to sergeant.
That's
So
February
we're
4th
going to do those
meeting?
ceremonial swearing in and introduce them to the public in their new positions on the 4th. Huh?
Officer Rock, too, the new officer.
And Officer Rock also, who is one of our new officers who just came on, former state police officer, wonderful addition to the force. So we're bringing on quality people, promoting our good people from within, and that's why the police department is what it is, and people here get the services that they deserve.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
That's all I have for this evening. We're going to pick up again tomorrow night at 5 p.m. And hopefully everybody has explained everything in a thoughtful manner this evening. If there are any additional questions, again, this is the appropriation side of the budget. I do the appropriations, Mr. Homer does the revenue side, we marry the two, and sometime in March, we strike a tax rate at that point. But if you have any questions, anything that you may not think of right now, please feel free to call me, ask me tomorrow, you can ask me at any time. I'd be happy to fill you in with any information that you need to fill in the blanks.
As usual, Mr. Tucci, thank you for putting this together. Every year, this is my third time sitting through this, so every year it becomes more clear to me and easier to understand and comprehend. But from the beginning, it always was easy the way that you presented and you have your staff presented, so I really appreciate that, and for answering all our questions.
I really appreciate the staff because they tried to explain to make you understand what they're thinking and what they're going through. Because it's important that we relay what we're doing to you so that you can relay it to the public. The message that we send out is very important. The public needs to know what's going on, and you need to go with what's going on so that you can relay that. And we thank you.
Mayor, just one other question. Mr. Tucci, I see books over there that are for the public that you leave out here. Do you have those in the library too, for anybody?
What happens is, at the conclusion of these public hearings, that book, one of those books will be in the public library for anybody who wants to. Those books are there for anybody in the public that comes to this meeting. They can go along with the same thing that you're going. There's nothing different in that book than what you have, because we want this to be a very transparent, open process. Anybody that wants to question anything in there, they can question us here. They can question you individually, me individually, on the off hour if they don't want to come here. But we just want to make that available so that everything is up front.
So
And again,
residents can go to the front desk at the library, ask for the budget book, and they can thumb through it just like we do.
They can thumb through it.
Great.
And also, the state of New Jersey requires during this process that the user-friendly budget be prepared, and that is also online. So instead of people don't want to thumb through this big voluminous document, there's a user-friendly budget that we put out every year, posted on our website. You'll see last year's, I believe, is up there. And once we get through the process, that will be also posted up there for the public to look at.
Good. Great. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Tucci.
Mr.
Thank you very
Tucci.
much.
Thank you very much.